Hello again, YouTubers. Welcome back to the Board Game Captain. I'm the Board Game Captain.
I'm Lynn.
I'm Alex.
And today we're going to be counting down our top 10 favorite card games. Now, this is the thing is, yeah, we mainly talk about board games, but card games are a big part of the modern hobby of tabletop gaming. I mean, they usually just get lumped in with board games, but they really are kind of a distinct, separate category.
Sure.
So now, for this one, I just went through my favorite card games and tried to organize them by how I currently feel about them. Some of them have gone up or down and how I would rate them over time. It was really hard for me, though, because I had a lot. I just went, basically, I went through how I rate games down to about 8 stars, and I had like 20 card games. And then there were some games where I was like, oh, that's not really a card game, which, by the way, I define a card game is any game where the vast majority of all of the actions are taken with the cards. So if there's a lot of actions taken with dice, I don't feel it's a card game anymore.
My definition's a little looser.
It always is.
Oh. How did you do your list?
If cards were a main component of the game, I included it.
Or any component.
I have a feeling that this is going to be...
you're gonna be a...
I think Alex is going to give me an aneurysm on this list.
Which is funny because like it seems like for every board game there's 5 card games, but I still couldn't really...
Oh, you had to stretch for this one, huh?
But I just couldn't bring myself to stick with purely card games.
Give me the bat.
It's so much less. It's so much more interesting when we don't all agree.
So without any further ado, let's get started. Number 10. Now, we forgot to deal out our order that we're going to go in, so Lynn's going to do that now.
Bam.
I got a 10.
Queen.
All right, so it's going to go Lynn and then down the row. Okay.
Last
So,
as usual.
in which case, Lynn, what is your number 10?
My number 10 is Behind the Throne.
Not surprising to me.
No.
It is a set collecting game.
A bit of press your luck element, too.
Yeah, there's a bit of press your luck in there. There's also, not really take that, but you can set it up so you screw the next person going.
Yeah, it's a screw your neighbor type feature.
Well, there definitely is some take that in there. Yeah, because there's certain things, certain cards that when you play them, it's like, kill one of your opponent's cards.
By the way, remember that thing you're going to do? You're not going to do that.
No, this is a great game, though.
Yeah.
This is a lot of fun.
I like this game.
And it's different in that you have to have the most of a certain card in order to use its ability.
Right.
Usually it's like, if you just have the card, you can do it. But this one...
You have to have the largest set.
Yeah.
Right.
Or I think, is it equal? If you have equal, does no one get it, or do both people get it?
I think both people get it.
There's
if
a
it's
rule,
equal.
but I don't remember.
Yeah, but this is a fun game.
Yeah,
this is
very fun.
Very fun. So my number 10, also a small box card game, is Colossal Arena. Now, Colossal Arena is a very interesting sort of wagering, that's the word, wagering mechanic in a card game. So the idea behind Colossal Arena is that you have this big gladiator fight happening with all of these magical, mythical creatures. And you are placing bets on which ones are gonna win, and then every turn you play a card which either helps to improve the strength of the guy you're betting on. So like you're betting on the Minotaur, you're like playing high numbers on the Minotaur to help the Minotaur win the fight, or low numbers on the things your opponents are betting on. And then at the end of every round, whichever one is at the current lowest number gets removed, and you go on to the next round, and you earn money back for wagers you did. The earlier you did the wager, the more money you get, but the monster has to survive all the way to the end of the game to win back your wager. And I love this style of play. It's really neat. Lynn is not a fan.
Does not like wagering.
I don't, no.
But I love because it's like you wager on it, but it's not like a normal wagering game where you place the wager and then you have a minimal to no influence on what happens. You're placing the wager based on the cards in your hand. You're like, wow, I got that. I have the number 10 for the Minotaur. I'm totally betting on the Minotaur right now because you're like, I can keep the Minotaur alive. And I love that because you're wagering on, it's more like poker in that way, where you, versus say like roulette or horse racing, it's more like poker. You're betting on what you have, and like what I have is going to keep the Minotaur alive. So that's me. Number 10, Colossal Arena.
All right. My number 10 game is Flux.
It was upside down.
Ah, crap. Flux. This way, it's right side up. Flux. So, this is why I go last. Flux is a simple, straightforward, fun to play, fast-paced card game. I like it just simply for that. There's really no other reason than it keeps the game going. It's good for a group of people. It's a lot of fun to play. It's easy to explain, and you're not waiting around. It's just bam, 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 bam.
I love how the rules change when you play a card.
Right? Yeah, you got to turn the card over, and that's much like the game.
Yeah, you play a card, and then that says, now instead of drawing one card every turn, you draw two cards every turn. And then someone else plays a card, and it's like, now you play two cards.
Right.
You know what? It's very simple, and it's simple fun, and it still comes out once in a while. I am starting to feel like it's starting to show its age a little bit, though.
It is. It is. It's
there's a lot of versions of it, which is cool and revitalized it a bit with all the different themes, but
it's still the same game.
It is still the same game, and as much as I'm still holding on to all our versions we have, I'm starting to feel like a lot of newer light card games are starting to replace it for me a little bit, which is why I didn't make my list. How are you feeling on Flux?
I mean, I think it's a good game. It's fun to play, and it's like you said. It's at the very beginning. It's draw a card, play a card.
Yeah.
That's it, and then the rules change as you play the cards.
Yeah.
But I mean, there are other card games I would much rather play.
But
there's probably about 9 more that I'd rather play.
That sounds fair. Number 9. So what's your number 9?
My number 9 is Seventh Hero. This
it's a fun game.
Yeah, you pass around. You're trying to make a party. You only need 6 of them because you are the 7th hero.
Yes, it's true. To go take on the big bad.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So this is all getting prepared to go on the adventure, and once you're prepared,
that's the theme.
You never go on the.
That's not really what the game is. I mean,
you pass around. You have to pass around a card, and people have to decide whether or not they're going to take it
without looking,
without knowing what it is.
They have to use deduction to figure out, okay, what cards do they need? Would they play something that they don't need to trick me? And then there's special abilities on the cards you already have that you can each use once. And there's one of them that even allows you to look at a card.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be a terrible game if all it was setting up to go on the adventure and then you just ended.
That is kind of what it is, though. Actually, that is kind of what it is. But that's what the theme is, though.
Right,
But the mechanics are much more interesting. The whole this is one of the few bluffing games you like. Because you generally don't like bluffing games, but there's a lot of bluffing in this because you put the card down and the person's like, wait, is this something I want? Is it not? And you're like, I don't know.
But you can't put down a card that's not. You flip it over and it says even card. You have to send an even card.
Yes.
So I mean, it's not quite bluffing. You just don't.
There's a little bit of bluffing.
You just don't know which even card is being sent.
I would say there's a little bit of bluffing.
It's not like bluffing like.
It's not a heavy.
Sheriff of Nottingham. Is it
okay, no, it's
not like that.
No. Okay, that's fair. That's a good game, though. I don't disagree with your choice in that game at all. So my number 9 is a game that I've enjoyed very much. It is called Grimslingers. Now, the interesting thing about Grimslingers is it's got 2 games in here. You've got an adventure game where there's like an adventure book and you play it totally co-op and you go and fight monsters and go on adventures. And it's almost like an RPG light. And then the other game is just a dueling game, which actually I kind of like better.
I do like better, yeah.
The dueling game...
I like the adventure game.
You always like adventure games. But the dueling game is just like a light, fast, spell-slinging, quick draw. Like you put cards face down, you flip them up at the same time. There's a rock, paper, scissors, lizard, Spock mechanic of, this element beats that element, so my spell goes off and yours doesn't. Or if they're exactly equal, if you play the same element, there's a weird blackjack mechanic to finish you figure. And there's so many.
It's not weird. It's awesome.
There's so many weird little things that fit together in a great way.
It's a really cool little feature they put in there.
It really is.
Blackjack element inside of a card game.
When I first saw that, I was a little like, what? And then I played it and I was like, okay, no, this is awesome. Yeah, this is really cool.
It is very cool.
So that is my number 9, Grimslingers.
Very cool game. My number 9 is Phase. And I think Phase, it says it right in the box, doesn't it?
Yes.
2 sides, infinite possibilities. And I have it the right way up, too.
You do.
This game is like brain bending.
Oh yeah.
The different possibilities, how much you have to keep track of. Normally that sounds like it's not a good thing, but does it very, very well.
It's wonderful.
You play an hour and a half of this game, and it feels like 12 minutes because it's so heavily invested in trying to figure out what's going on and maintain. And the strategy changes because the cards change.
Because every time you use it, it flips.
It turns over, and it's a completely different card. It's not just slightly different aspects of the front card.
No,
you now have a negative effect. You now have, and it affects you and not your opponent. Whereas the other card,
and it always goes completely opposite because they have light cards and dark cards, and every light card has a dark card on the outside. Yes. So you always flip from light to dark or dark to light, and then it's a totally different card with different abilities.
And it is a game that gets better the more you play it because you become more familiar with the cards and you have a better understanding of the way the cards work. And it's actually a really clever way to keep a game fresh for a long time.
Anything to add?
No. I don't have anything to add. Just that it's there's no two cards that are the same.
Oh, that is very cool.
There's many, I think there's at least 4 of the same.
I think it's 5.
5 of the same monsters, but their back monster will always be different.
Always different, right?
Yeah, which is really neat.
So you can't even use card counting to be the other side of that dude is that other guy.
No, you don't know.
There's other cards
you have to see
a different back.
You have to see the other side and then remember. And then if you don't remember and it's your opponent's card, you're like, what's on the other side of there? And you're like, I don't know.
I don't remember. Right. So yeah, fun game, really fun game.
Number 8.
My number 8 is Dastardly Dirigibles. It is a game where you are building a steampunk zeppelin, and whoever finishes theirs first. Well, it's
triggers the scoring round.
Yeah, you score, and then you have 3 rounds of zeppelin building.
Yeah, and you get a score by having most of the zeppelin be a single suit of cards.
Unless you're Lynn and always shoot the moon.
Yeah, Lynn, there's a muddle in this where you can have 1 card each of a different suit, which you managed to pull off at least once.
I think I did it twice.
Yeah, it's really hard.
I think you're always trying to do it.
If I get a hand of a lot of different things, I usually try for it.
This is a fun set collection game, though. This is one that, anytime we go to pull it out, everybody has a good time with it. This has never gone over poorly.
Yeah, it's fun.
Definitely a good game.
Yep.
So my number 8 is a game that... I was sent Cursed Court by Atlas Games right after they released it to do a review and tutorial video from it. And I was so happy that I liked this game as much as I did because I really didn't want the first time a company sent me a free game for me to have to give it a bad review. And I'm so glad this game was awesome. And this game is awesome. And I love it. This 100% is another one of those games that for me replaces a classic game. For me, this game replaces the game of poker. There's this interesting mechanic where cards are dealt between you and the person next to you on either side. Everyone's allowed to look to the card look at the card on the left and the right, and you wager. It's another wagering game. You wager on if multiple copies of a card are going to come up, or if certain sets of cards are going to come up, sort of like a straight. And there is a board in this, but the board is really just to put your wagering tokens, which are really like poker chips in this, to put your wagering tokens on. That's what the board of the game looks like. So you place your wagers on the different areas, and basically you can either place a wager on a area that no one has wagered on before, or if you want to knock someone off a wager and take it over, you have to place at least twice as many of the poker chips on it than they have. You knock them off, take the spot, and take over the wager, and then they'll have to either knock you off or do a different wager. And I love that. This game plays great, especially about 4 players. Really like this game at 4 players. That's my personal favorite place. Anything?
Haven't played it.
I don't like wagering.
She's not a fan of the wagering games.
I like wagering games. I just haven't played this.
You're going to have to try this. Well, unfortunately, we can't do it with Lynn, though, because she refuses. She's not a fan of the wagering games. But you actually said that one was okay.
Yeah, it's okay.
Which for you, on a wagering game, is really good, because you don't usually...
I won't, refuse to play it ever, but I won't...
You got to play it once in a while.
I'll probably be, grumpy while I play it.
What's your number 8?
My number 8 is Behind the Throne.
Oh.
Lynn already spoke so eloquently of its many pluses that there's really not much else to say. It's a lot of fun to play, and it's got that cutthroat element to it a little bit, but it's not mean spirited. It's a good fun game to play.
All right, so let's go on to our number 7. Number 7.
My number 7 is Kodama. You are building a tree, basically.
You are.
Classic tree building game.
I just realized how difficult this is to explain.
You draft cards to build a tree to get sequences of certain symbols to show up, basically, which gives you points.
Yeah.
It's a tile laying game.
No, it's cards.
It's cards, but that's what I'm saying. But you're
putting the cards
but
down.
But it's not quite
to
a
build
tile,
because
tiles usually you place the tiles next to each other. In this, you got to place them over each other.
But there's a specific way you place them, and that the way you place them determines how you get your points.
Yeah,
which is how you win the game. So it's a card game.
Card laying game.
A card laying game. In my broad expanded definition, it's certainly a card game.
It is.
But but I think that's the way it plays. Is that you're literally physically constructing something with the cards.
Yeah.
This is one that just missed my list. It's a really good game.
It is a very fun game. As hard as it is to explain, it's very interesting.
It probably would have, if we'd have done a top 20, it probably would have been in my top 20.
And you'll never play the same game twice.
No. It is very, very varying. Now, my number 7 is Century Golem Edition. Now, I don't have Century Spice Road, and I find the artwork and theme on Century Spice Road to be very yawn-inducing. However, when they made the nice fantasy version of Century Golem Edition, along with the fact that I'd already heard how great the mechanics were in Century Spice Road, I was there. I was like, I need to have this. And I'm so glad I bought it, because this game is phenomenal. It is so good. There's this wonderful hand management where you're slowly... it's almost like an engine building. You're buying cards to put them in your hand, to then play them, and then when you get too many cards on the table, you can take an action to pick them all up again and play them again, to be able to get the right combinations of gems as you're playing the cards, and then use the gems to buy the point cards, which are the golems.
Right.
And this is another one. I don't think I've ever had this go over poorly. Everyone I've played this with has liked this, at least to some extent, and I love this game.
I've only played it once, and I really liked it. I don't know if it'd make the top 10 yet, but it's definitely a very good game.
Yeah. My only complaint is the color of the coins.
Oh, because the copper one is more valuable than the silver one? It's a little
sense.
weird, but it's true, it doesn't make sense, but you get used to it.
My number 7 game is Blood of an Englishman. Get a little closer there. There you go. This is a card game, again, card laying game. Sort of.
No, it's not really card laying. I mean, because you're just stacking.
Card
You're stacking.
Card manipulation.
Card manipulation. There you go. So it has to do with where the cards are and how you how you arrange them, and you can move them around to get to the certain, I guess, levels.
It's quite asymmetrical.
Yes. Well, it's 2-player, and so it's either Jack versus the Giant.
Yes.
And depending on who you are is how you play the game, which way how you can get the cards and how you can score points.
Because the Giant wants to line up fee fi fo fum either horizontally in the same spot or vertically in the same row, while Jack is trying to mess with him and not let him do that. And Jack has to get
3 treasures.
He has to get all the treasures.
No, not all of them. He has to get 3 because I think there's 4 treasures. He only needs 3 of them.
No, I think there's 3 of each treasure. He needs 1 of each.
Oh, okay.
It's like he needs the harp, the golden goose.
Is it just gold? I think it's the third treasure.
Gold.
It might just be gold.
Probably should open the box.
Yeah, the goose that lays the golden eggs.
Right.
But I like that game a lot. That's another one would have been in my top 20.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's 2-player. It doesn't feel like a real quick 2-player card game though. There's a lot more to it than that.
It's very interesting because it's very asymmetrical, and I don't feel like there's a overabundance of benefit to either side. It's actually fairly well balanced. There's a slight benefit to Jack, I think, but that can be offset by certain deals will give a much bigger benefit to the Giant.
Oh yeah, and it plays fast enough that you could do 2 games and swap roles.
Yes,
for sure,
definitely, and that is a good game.
A lot of fun.
Oh yeah. Number 6.
My number 6 is Fox in the Forest. It is a 2-player trick-taking game. That I like that it, unlike other trick-taking games, it's actually punishes you for doing really well. So you want to not do horrible, but also not do really well. You want to kind of just do okay.
Yeah, it's a little similar to the Shoot the Moon in Hearts, but it's not the same. It's a different mechanic, and it's really well done. I love Fox in the Forest. Yep. So my number 6. My number 6 is also Fox in the Forest, because I thoroughly agree with what Lynn is saying. This is a phenomenal trick-taking game. Something else she didn't mention that I'd like to draw attention to is the odd-numbered cards all have special abilities. And the special abilities are really cool, especially the foxes, which are the number 3, which allow you to change the trump suit. Mm-hmm. So you can be like, the way they work is you play them, and then before your opponent plays a card, if they're next, you stop and you pick up the card that dictates what the trump suit is, because at the beginning of every round, you deal off the top card from the deck, and that's the trump suit. You pick it up and replace it with a card from your hand, so you can make the trump suit whatever you want, and that's a really awesome ability. And there's lots of other really cool abilities in the odd numbers also.
All right.
Did you want this for your number?
My number 6 is not Fox in the Forest. It is Grimslingers. So now we're starting to really...
We have a fair amount of crossovers.
Step on each other's toes here.
Yeah,
That's all right. That's got to happen. I like Grimslingers, especially the head-to-head version. It's so much fun, and a lot of head-to-head card games.
Well, the two-player card game duels are great.
Just great, yeah.
It's a really cool.
It's like
theme.
It's like war in the 21st century. It's fantastic, and you should play it.
Number 5.
My number 5 is Flipping Flags. It is, I guess it's dexterity game.
No, it's not.
But well,
you do have to flip the flag.
It's a speed game.
It's a speed game. You flip over. You divide the deck between the players, and then at the same time you flip over. You hold the deck in your hand, and you flip one up. You flip over the top card, and if there are 2 matching flags
out on the table,
you have to yell out the name of the country. And then you grab them.
The first person who names it yells it and gets them.
Yes, and then the person who has the most cards at the end of the game is the winner.
You keep flipping flags until somebody can name 2 countries that are out there. So someone yells out.
Well, 1 country, Josh.
Oh, one, yeah, yeah, but you know what I mean. Two of the flags.
Yes.
In the country. All right, this is a silly fun card game, but I definitely would have put it anywhere near my top 10.
He doesn't like it because he's not good at flags.
I don't dislike it. I just don't like it as much as you do. I don't think it belongs on the top 10 list, but that's up to you.
Well, which is older, that or Flux?
Flux is older.
Flux.
Okay. Yeah, this is actually not that old. But you know what? Okay. You know what this is a good game for? This is a good game for teaching kids different flags. Like, if you just want your kids to know the flags of different countries. I mean, it's not a sort of thing that they study much in school anymore, but I don't know. For that, I think it's kind of cool. It's educational. But yeah, it's not bad. It's not a bad game. Have you played this?
No.
Yeah. So my number 5 is a game that Alex already mentioned, and it is Phase. Now, Alex did a really good job of talking about how difficult it is to keep track of all of the different sides of the cards and how amazing that is. But there's something else I want to add to it, which is I love that you have these cards that you slowly deal up into this area in front of you that are used as resources. And the way you use them as resources is kind of a weird, brilliant idea.
Right.
Is a card will tell you it costs 5, which means you have to have at least 5 cards there, and then you flip them all 5, and you can bring the card out to play it. Which then means you only have 4 left there because that card cost 5, and it was one of the cards that, that didn't get flipped by you flipping the other 5. You had 6 cards there. Now you only have 5 cards there.
Right.
And there's an interesting mechanic with that because you can chain it. You're allowed to look at the other sides of your own cards. So you can be like, okay, I have 6 cards. This card needs 5 cards to flip to go over. If I flip them all, this card will only need 4 cards to flip to go over. Right. So you go, okay, flip 5, put the 5 card up. Then they went over, and now look, this one now only needs 4. Flip the other 4, put that one up. Now that I flipped it, look, this one needs 2.
Right.
And you can chain it and get a bunch of cards out in a row that way. But the more you put out, the less of your resources you have, because you're putting out the cards from your resource area. I love that. I think it's a really cool balancing effect, and I really like Phase a lot.
Yeah. My number 5 is Fox in the Forest. I could have made it my number 6, but it wasn't.
But it wasn't.
It would have been easier just to pass it over, but we like to make things difficult here. This is my replacement for a classic card game of Euchre, which is a trick-taking game using a standard deck of cards. They both already said what the game does. There's not much more to add other than if you like playing Euchre or even like Spades.
Yeah, I was a big Spades player, and I think for sure.
Or Hearts. Get this game and try it. It's makes it a little more interesting and
it's also
a little more fun.
A lot of those games don't play very well at 2 players, and this is a specifically 2-player game, and it plays great at 2 players.
Exactly.
So there you have it. Number 4.
My number 4 is Straw. Surprising because there's math involved.
It's all math.
Yes.
It's all addition and subtraction.
It's basically if you know the fable of the straw that broke the camel's back, you're loading up a camel with goods, and each of the goods has a weight, and you don't want to be the person that makes
it go over
50.
Everybody knows a camel can't hold more than 50.
50 what?
Yes.
So there's a lot of adding and subtracting, and once in a while you get into negative numbers, as you do when you're loading up a camel.
Well, if you have flying carpets that will carry this stuff for you, it happens.
Yeah.
Okay.
Floating camels.
But it's a really fun game, and that's coming from a person who is definitely mathologically incompetent.
This is, I think it's mathematically.
Whatever.
This is a fantastic game, and in fact, this is a game I recommend to anyone who wants to play a game with their kids to help them with addition and subtraction, because they won't realize it that they're just doing math problems while they're playing the game and having fun, and that's awesome. You've played this.
If I have, I don't remember.
Oh, right, fair enough. My number 4 is Mystic Vale. Now, Mystic Vale is an interesting newer take on the whole deck building kind of theme. In this, they call it card building or card crafting.
Card crafting.
Did it say that on there?
Yes.
Yeah, card crafting.
Mystic Valley.
So instead of So instead of deck building, you actually, instead of adding, you have a set number of cards in the deck, and you don't add a new card to the deck. The cards are in these sleeves, and all the cards are clear plastic, and you just slide a new one in, and each card can have up to 3 segments. And every time you add a new segment to the card, it's something new that's positive or negative that the card does when it gets played. There's also a press your luck portion in this, and it's just a really fun game. I just really enjoy it, and I wish it made it to the table more often. Because I think maybe some of the people I play with don't like it as much as I do, but I really enjoy Mystic Vale.
It kind of, to me, I like it, but it does kind of feel like a solitaire game that 2 people are playing at the same time. There's not much interaction except with buying the stuff, and even then, it's usually you can't afford the same things at the same time, so it doesn't even matter.
I'm not going to disagree with you, but I'm going to say I don't think it's a problem, because I like it anyway.
My number 4 is Shot and Totten. I guess kind of like how Fox in the Forest replaced Euchre, this is kind of the replacement for poker.
Three-card poker?
3-card poker. Yeah, even though that was a completely different video, games that replace other games, that sort of mini theme. Shot and Totten is a lot of fun. You're building your hands of the 3 cards based on the suits, and obviously if you get 3 of the kind, that's
and they're like 3-card poker hands.
3-card poker hands, and then
you need to.
It's also kind of a placement because you're doing it against. You have open positions where you can if there's no opponent, then you automatically get that. Otherwise, you have to beat the opponent's hand
because you got to get
you're playing for the same spot.
Yeah, because there's a line of spots, and you either have to win 3 hands in a row or 5 total hands
to win the game.
To win the game,
right? So you can play unopposed positions, but depending on your hands, you kind of have to play where you put them. So. It's a fun game for not a lot of rules and not a lot of setup. but it gets the job done.
This is another one would have made my top 20 if we'd have done a top 20. I love this game. This is a great
I have
game.
a feeling there's like 30 games on your top 20.
No. There's 30 games in my top 30, though. Number 3. So here we are. The creme de la creme. Our 3 favorite card games of all time. Ever.
My third is Cat Lady.
Ooh.
It's a set collecting.
There's definitely a lot of set collecting.
But there's other things. You have to feed the cats, otherwise you
So it's
don't
kind of
get the
resource
points.
management.
Resource management, set collecting.
I don't know what you would call the mechanic of like choosing the rows and columns to take, but this is a fun game. It's a weird theme, but it's a fun game.
Yeah. Yes.
It could have been anything.
It could have.
But
I like that they made it like a crazy cat lady.
Well, because like with a game like this where it could have been anything, they could have gone with like a generic fantasy theme and it would have been like, oh, another generic fantasy theme game. But instead, they went with being the best crazy cat lady, and that's hilarious.
Right. I mean, everybody knows the best crazy cat lady was on The Simpsons, but this one's pretty close because she would throw the cats at you.
My number 3, third favorite card game of all time, is Fight for Olympus. Now, again, this is one with a little board in it, similar to how there was a board in Cursed Court, though. The board is not really integral. In this, it's really just a placeholder for the different areas that you have to play cards to. You're trying to control the different areas to use their special abilities, while also fighting with your opponent's heroes from Greco-Roman mythology on their side of the board. It feels like a 2-player duel game while also having area control and not just being about killing your opponent, but also about earning points from controlling Olympus. Mm-hmm. This is a great game.
Did you say resource management in there too? Because there is resource.
There's
management.
Well, it's like hand management
with the little
tokens.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of resource management.
Yeah. It's not really there's not too much management.
Only a little bit.
There's a little bit of quite a few different mechanics in there.
Yeah, this is a great game. I love Fight for Olympus.
That's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
For number 3, I picked Mysterium. What else do we have to say about Mysterium? I think it's made every top 10 list I think we've done.
But let's be fair. They may not have watched the other lists it's in.
That's true. Well, first of all, shame.
Yes, right now. Go pause this. No, don't do that.
Don't do that.
After you're done with this, go watch some of our top 10 lists.
So this is an extremely fun game to play. It's cooperative. Everyone's playing for the same team. You have different roles, however. Somebody's
One player's a ghost.
One player's a ghost, so they're kind of feeding clues to the other players, and then that's how you decide who, the solution to the mystery.
And this wound up on a lot of our lists for games that replace a classic game for replacing Clue,
and it does it so well.
Oh yeah.
But still, this game's fun to play. The idea behind it's great, but the thing that makes this game the best, I think, is the artwork, and the cards are beautiful. Everything has got so much meaning and interesting, just little things to it. This is one of the most beautiful games I think I've ever played, and for that reason alone, it should be in the top 10. But the fact that it's so much fun, it's so creative, really rounds it out.
I think I point this out every time, but I just think it's hilarious that the time limit is 42 minutes exactly.
That is a weird arbitrary time.
I never noticed that before.
I never noticed that. Well, I must have said it when I did the review of this back in the day. But
I wonder if the time, because it's got a timer.
It does.
I wonder if you do that the exact maximum number is 42 minutes. I wonder if that's actually how it works.
We're gonna have to test that out one day.
Or somebody out there do it and let us know.
Number 2.
My number 2 is Parade. It is a card game where you don't want points.
Yes.
The person with the lowest points wins.
The golf of card games.
I once won with 0 points. I did it once. It was crazy. It was insane. You were so mad.
Yes, I'm still mad.
About me winning with 0?
I'm gonna be dead and still mad.
I've never played it, so therefore I'm world champion.
I think you have played this game.
I don't think so.
I think
sure?
we have played it with you.
No, we definitely have. We definitely have.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
You're losing your memory.
I'm not surprised.
But
but it's Alice in Wonderland themed. So there's that going for it. And it's really fun to play. You basically, all the characters are facing one direction, so you make like it's like they're on, walking in a parade.
Yeah.
And
you put down a number card, and that many numbers are safe. Anything after that are either the same color as your card,
I remember this
or
now.
lower than your number, you have to. Now you remember?
Now I remember.
Yeah, you've definitely played this game. That's why I was like,
this was pretty good. Yeah, I remember that.
Not only is now you're a little lesser on it than we are, but okay. Now I know I say this a lot about games that just missed my list.
Top 20.
No. This one is my number 11 because this one was on the list and got bumped off by another game, and it was one of those where I struggled over the decision because I like this game that much.
Okay.
But it was like another game that just beat it. But yeah, no, it was one I wanted on my top 10.
Tune in for our next top 11.
So my number 2 is Sheriff of Nottingham. Now this is again in that area where Lynn and I are very much differ in when it comes to these card games. In that Lynn is not a fan of bluffing and wagering mechanics. Sheriff of Nottingham is a big bluffing game. This is why I knew it wasn't going to make your list, even though it was your buy because you love anything with the Robin Hood theme on it. But I love bluffing mechanics, and this is my favorite bluffing game of all time. And I love people just without it even being in the rules. People tend to get into character in this and be like, I don't know what you're talking about, Sheriff, but perhaps this coin could convince you to face the other way. And because the whole thing is you're trying to smuggle goods into Nottingham, which is freaking awesome. I love this theme. And then it's like, so, all right, you put cards in a pouch. And when you put the cards in the pouch, you then declare, and you can only declare one kind of good. And there's only three or four kinds of legal goods?
I think there's 4.
4. It's like bread, cheese, chickens.
Maybe there was only.
Maybe it's only.
Apples.
Apples. So you say, I have 4 apples. You can have up to 4 goods in there. Now, the sheriff decides whether they want to look in your pouch or not. And if they look in your pouch and you really did have 4 apples, they have to pay you the penalty printed on those 4 apple cards in coin to you. However, if you brought any contraband or just anything you didn't declare, you lose those cards and must pay the penalty to whoever's playing the sheriff, and everybody gets a chance to be the sheriff like twice in this game. This game is great. If you like bluffing and hamming it up and silly games to either play with the family or to play over a few beers, man, this is your game.
Yeah. It should come with a couple beers.
Now, what about you? What do you think? I mean,
I like the theme.
all right.
There's a lot of interaction, which I always enjoy. I think that's a lot of fun. My number 2 is Fight for Olympus. Captain here already expounded upon its virtues. This is a game that when I lose it, I get mad and want to play it again immediately because I'm like emotionally invested in how I'm doing because it feels like an old time like card game. It feels like you're head to head and you are trying to outwit the other player.
Oh, it can be nail biting too.
And when you don't, you are angry at yourself, or at least I am. So, but it's addictive the way it does.
There was one night where over a few drinks, you and I sat there and played this game like 5 times.
Yeah, I'm not surprised at all. Maybe even more. Like every time I play it, I want to play it again right afterwards. So this is definitely one of the best card games out there.
You might say you would give it a 2 out of 10 of your favorites of all time.
Probably. It's definitely in my top 2.
And now it is time for number 1.
My number 1 is Mysterium.
Oh, that game's terrible.
Yeah, I never played Clue as a kid, so I have to just go with these guys that it replaces Clue. But yeah, I mean, it's fun to try and figure out what the ghost means by their weird cards that they decide to give, because it's always, you have to, it's almost like mind bending. You have to just try and figure out what they're trying to get through, and sometimes it's just like the tiniest piece of the card, and people misinterpret, or they latch on to something else,
or they're stupid.
Okay, then.
It's not easy being the ghost.
It isn't.
Now, did you have anything else you would like to say?
No.
Because my number one is also Mysterium. Now, I just wanted to expound on something that Alex had said earlier about this game being so beautiful and the artwork really being so amazing. And it is. He's 100% correct. And this is one of the games that I would pull out and show to someone if they ever tried to say that board gaming's can't be art. Because this game is art. This is playing art.
Yeah. You feel bad handling the cards almost. They're so pretty.
Now, that being said, so there's nothing else I really have to add to this. These guys did a great job of already talking about it, but I just wanted to say that. And this is my number one favorite card game of all time, Mysterium.
So,
can you tell that our gaming group likes Mysterium a lot?
Yeah, I only made it to my number two. My number one card game of all time, I'm choosing it. The captain here is not going to be happy with it because he doesn't even think it's a card game.
It's not a card game.
But the entire game comes in a box and all that's in it is cards. Nightmare Chess.
But the rules
Right.
the rules say that you play with a chess board,
right,
and you don't even have to play a card on every turn.
It's true. Like I said, I have an expansive definition of card games.
Not a card game.
Usually they're games that involve cards.
This is a board game with a hand of cards.
Okay. Tomato, tomato. I played this game back before I knew I liked playing games. I've been playing this game since probably it came out, 1999, 2000.
Yeah, this was when you saw this in the late 90s. You saw this in game stores and hobby stores and comic shops. Because Steve Jackson Games has been making games since forever.
Right.
With their old role playing games like GURPS and their old card games like Illuminati and then Nightmare Chess, which I don't actually think is a card game. But this goes back.
I've played this game more than I've played every other game probably put together over the course of my life, just because I played so much of this back in college and then afterwards. And when the captain here suggested card games, our favorite card games, this is what I thought of, because if just on pure amount of hours spent enjoying a game that has cards, Nightmare Chess has to be my number one.
This is a great game, and I love this game. I just don't think it's a card game. But I do not dictate what anyone else can put on their list. So Alex is number one. Just
wait till we do like a top 10 on best dice game. I'll figure out a way to get it in there.
There's no dice. No.
Oh, there's a see, there is a line. You can't just do anything you want.
No, you can do whatever you want, but I will give you such crap if you put that on there.
I probably won't.
Oh man. All right, so there you have it. That is our top 10 favorite card games. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns on this list, feel free to put them down below. And please let us know, what are your favorite card games? Put them in the comments down below this video. And if you enjoyed this top 10 list and you'd like to see us do more like it, be sure to give it a like. Share this video on any social media you may have. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the Board Game Captain on YouTube. That's Captain spelled with a K. And go to my channel and hit that little bell icon so you get alerts every time I upload a new video. And until next time, game on.